Cool. Well, Jay, I know you're a while from your football coaching career. First, if you want to give an update on yourself, that would be great. What are you up to these days? I know you've been in Kentucky for a while, but what's kind of the latest with you?
Well, thank you. Yes, after I left coaching, I was called into vocational ministry, so I've been an ordained pastor for a decade now. Haven't lost a game in a decade as well, so undefeated during that stretch. But we currently are living in Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm overseeing, among other things, a an expansion project for our church, a new worship center and repurposement of existing space and such. And then I've kind of also done a foray into writing. And so I've released one book. I have another book I've completed that hopefully will be released here in the not too distant future, and a few other ventures along the way. A side ministry that I call Coach J Mills, which is the process of all my writing is and speaking is transferring biblically based coaching principles for personal and professional growth. So I still coach, but in a different venue.
When you think back to your coaching days, does it kind of hit you like the impact that you could have on other coaches when you see what happens yesterday with the Fiesta Bowl getting picked?
Yeah, one of the things I used to tell the coaching staff at Charleston Southern is, we talk about a Bible verse as train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not turn from it. But we were not just about training up the young men under our tutelage. Really, for me, it was a broader ministry. It was about also training up younger coaches, and so that they would continue to multiply and influence those in their sphere of influence and impact for greater purposes. So whole person development is what we were trying to accomplish. That was mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, all aspects help in the development of the young men that were in our care.
So when you see Jamey Chadwell's success right now, are you surprised? I mean, I'm assuming when you hire like a young wide receivers coach, I'm assuming you don't imagine him being a 13-0 coach, a head coach in a New Year's Six bowl game, or did you when you met him?
Well, in a way, it surprised me. In a way, it doesn't surprise me. It surprises me because I don't know if I've ever looked out that far in the distance. It doesn't surprise me because of the things that I recognized in Jamey when I first met him. I met him at Black Mountain Fellowship of Christian Athletes coaches and spouses camp. This was the summer of 2003, and I remember saying to myself, if I ever have an opening on my staff, he'll be the first one that I call. And later that fall, in fact, it was quite a coincidence. Brandon Streeter is the one that was on my staff that left. And of course, Brandon's had great success as well at Clemson and now at Georgia. And when he left, I actually tracked Jamey down to a beach in Mexico in the winter of 2003, 2004, and offered him a position on the staff. And we were just blessed to have him for 5 years. And so I've always thought the world of Jamey. And so from that standpoint, it does not surprise me. The sky's the limit. And I really appreciate all the things that he's done. And most importantly, the way he's done it in a first class manner.
Do you remember what your offer was to him at the beginning? I'm assuming it wasn't a tremendous financial gain for him. Then, do you have any idea, remembrance of what that was when you got him to CSU?
Uh, yes, I remember exactly how much he was paid on that day. He signed for a whopping $30,000 to join the coaching staff at Charleston Southern University. And let me tell you, the reason why, another reason why it just reinforced that he was the right guy. East Tennessee dropped football that fall, if you recall, Scott, 2003. And while a lot of people, especially coaches, would be scrambling for themselves to find a job, here's what stood out about Jamey Chadwell. Jamey worked tirelessly to help all those young men in that program to find other places where they could attend school and play football if that was their heart's desire. He selflessly looked after others before he looked after himself. And I'm truly confident that that's one of the reasons why God has shown his favor on him. And of course, multiplied his salary, and he's the same humble person today as he was back then.
Yeah, what was that like to talk to his team up there in Kentucky? Was it kind of surreal? I know you had a couple guys on that staff that you knew pretty well.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I appreciate about Jamey is loyalty. Jamey's very loyal to the people that have been with him over the course of a long coaching career as a head coach now, whether it's been North Greenville or all the way through, CSU and Coastal and so forth. And so to see some of my other guys there, Newland Isaac, Malcolm Dixon, and Chad Scott, it brings me great joy. So the coaching tree that I was a part of, to know that there are other branches that are continuing on and quite frankly more fruitful in their pursuits than I was in my 30-year career. So it's great because you're always connected, and it's like seeing old friends. You just pick up where you left off before.
Now, Bo Nix, I mean, a former CSU ball boy, I believe. What were your memories of him as a kid? I mean, could you tell that he could sling it, or was it like, I mean, he's just a kid as a ball boy right now?
Well, again, kind of like Jamey and some of the other young men that are on Jamey's staff that either played for me or coached for me. It's about character, it's about integrity and so forth. So first and foremost, Patrick Nix, who coached for me for those 3 years, offensive coordinator, and Krista, his wife, you can't find a more wonderful couple than those two. And the way that they trained and raised their children was a sight to behold, and had my full respect, no question about it. So Bo, I think one of the things that I remember most about Bo is, he was definitely a gym rat, a coach's son. He was around and loved being around and would be around as much as probably the coaches if his mom would let him. But the thing that I really enjoy, one of the stories I appreciate the most is we took Sundays off while I was there as a head coach, which, as you know, in the college coaching profession is really difficult to do. Now, we grinded the other 6 days of the week, but we felt a conviction to give the families time off on Sundays. And every single Sunday in the fall, Patrick would be out there playing a football game, an imaginary game with his boys, with Bo, with Caleb, and so forth. And a lot of our coaches would join in, my younger coaches and such. So they'd have like a Super Bowl every week, or a Pac-12 championship game every week and such. So Bo's roots, it doesn't surprise me where he's come. What a talented individual. And of course, Patrick was a great quarterback at Auburn himself. But to see Bo just kind of following his dad's footsteps, and then I'm sure Patrick would say, and then some.
Yeah. How did you find? I mean, because Patrick was at like Miami, Georgia Tech. How did you land him off Highway 78?
Yeah, now wait a minute. Miami, Georgia Tech, Charleston Southern, they just flow together very seamlessly, Scott. So, no, I tell you what, the funny thing was when I got his name, I got it from a gentleman named Dal Sheely. And Dal was a former president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And Dal himself used to be a head football coach at Richmond University, among other places, Lenore Ryan and such. But when Dal told me, I said, well, Dal, I said, I didn't have much more to offer Patrick financially than I had to offer Jamey a few years earlier. And I said, I'll call him out of respect to you, Dal. And when I called Patrick, I basically said this. In fact, this is almost verbatim. I said, I'm calling you to give you the first opportunity to turn me down. And so I shared it with him, totally expected him to turn it down. And within 24 hours, he was heading to Charleston Southern. And so that can only be equated to a miracle from above, to have somebody not just of his character, his intellect, but his athletic pedigree and his experience to come to Charleston Southern, and what he was able to invest in the young men while he was there for those 3 years, I know is impacting them to this day.
Now, did he replace Jamey on the staff? Because they never crossed over, did they? They never. They
No,
missed
they
each other.
didn't. So no, he did not. I mean, indirectly, he probably did replace Jamey, but Jamey left. He was there with me for 5 years. He left after our 2008 when we beat Coastal 24-0 that year. That was
Right.
his last game with me up at Coastal, and that's when North Greenville came calling. And Patrick came in the summer. I lost a coach kind of at the last second. He came in the summer of 2010.
Okay. And then, final question for you. I mean, like when you sit there and you go like all these crazy things, do you miss the football part of it? Like, do you miss those days at all? Do you just part of you wish you still coaching, or do you enjoy just sitting down on a Saturday on TV, watching it on TV and not having the stress of it?
Well, I enjoyed the relation. I would miss the a relationship. Certainly miss the victories, but I think I got to the point where it was harder, to take the losses than it was to enjoy the victories. But so I enjoy watching. My standard joke is this: is I get my big gulp, my junk food. I have a big screen TV and a lounge chair. And if I could hook up a catheter, I would stay there all day long and watch football without stopping. And so I have really enjoyed, and I stay vicariously connected through people like Jamey and some of the others too, to watch these young men and some of my coaches. I'll be talking to another one of my former coaches today. He's pursuing a position, and so he's asked me to serve as a reference again. So I get to be a consultant. I get to be, and what a consultant is, as you know, in the NFL, is they get to basically express their opinion with no responsibility for the outcome whatsoever. So it's kind of a fun role as well. So I'm still coaching in a different way, but boy, I'm a big college football fan, and I'm particularly a big fan of my former players and coaches that are continuing in this wonderful profession.
And ball boys as well, right?
And ball boys.
Perfect. Jay, thanks so much. It's great talking to you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. Thanks. Good to see you.
Good seeing you too. Does that work?
That works great. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I'll put something together today, and yeah, certainly I'll put something together, and I'll forward it on to you.
Well, appreciate that. If you don't mind, I'd love to get a copy of the raw footage too of
Yeah,
our conversation, as well as what you put together, and send those to me. I'd be grateful for both.
you
And
got it.
by the way, I'll let you know, I think I'm going to have something that you're going to be interested in hearing about. I'm going to put a teaser out there and say I've been working on something else for a while, and it's very close to coming to fruition. And I think when it does, you're going to be one of the individuals I call and let know, because I think there'll be some interest in your part as well.
Perfect. That sounds great. You got my number.
Sounds good. Thank you, Scott. Have a wonderful day, and best wishes. Merry Christmas, happy holidays as well to you and your family.
Thanks. You too. Thanks, Jay.
Take care.
All right. Take it. Bye-bye.